Cut. Okay, take number 35. This is Joni with Big Tiny Dreams, and I'm doing something different today. I actually filmed 2 videos yesterday trying to show, going through the process of going through things as far as my items. Like I was going to go through all my plasticware and divvy it up, Goodwill, keep, throw away, or give some to my daughters. And after filming 2 separate videos, and they were kind of long, like both were about 30 minutes each, I realized in going back to look at the footage, my head was cut off right here. So I realized one of the problems is I'm still figuring this stuff out with filming and all. With my particular phone, and maybe it's like this with everybody's phone, I'm sure it is, I had always been filming with the front-facing camera because it's hard for me to tell if I've got a good shot or whatever if I can't see myself. So I tried to set up the shop, excuse me. I tried to I tried to set up the shot with the camera having it rear facing, so that because I was getting so annoyed looking at my videos, if I had anything with words or whatever, everything was reversed. And I'm watching and I'm like, wait a minute, that's not on that side of my house, that's on that side. Well, you'll have to excuse the traffic noises. We have a busy street here. But anyway, I realized that, everything was looking reversed, and it was really getting annoying to me. And I noticed that even though I was filming in full HD, which I have the capability of 4K, but my younger daughter, which is a young adult, but my youngest, told me, she's like, Mom, most people don't even have 4K or even watch in 4K. There's no need to do that because the files can be really large and it takes a long time to load them to my laptop. She said, just do regular HD. So I was like, okay, but I noticed it still wasn't looking that great. Then I just realized yesterday that there's actually settings on the camera to do the different frames per second or whatever. And I had it on 30, and I guess there was 60. I don't know all the details about that, but I assume 60 is better. So I tried it on that, and I tried using the rear camera, and I did these 2 lengthy videos going through all this process. And then, as I said, I go look at them and I'm like, oh man, I can't use that. So I'm trying to make sure I put something up every week. I know I don't have a lot of subscribers right now, but I do want to give a shout out to the 10 that I have, because one of the things I'm wanting to talk about is being grateful, among other things. But I want to make sure I show gratitude for the 10 that I have, which are mostly family and friends. And I appreciate them. I appreciate that. That means so much to me. So, celebration. Thank you guys so much. Woohoo for the 10. Yay. Anyway, that being said, I still want to make sure I get content out because I hope to one day grow my channel. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to put the content out. I want to make sure I at least have something out every week, preferably at least a couple of times a week, maybe even 3 times. But with working at the same time and trying to get a house ready to hopefully move next year, there's not a lot of time in there. So that being said, I was like, what am I going to put up? I put up a video yesterday, and I know it may have seemed sad and dark because it was, but even though this is Big Tiny Dreams now, it's still, in a sense, my journey to joy, and it is my journey of dealing with all the things I've been through. And I know I haven't gone into a whole lot of detail, and but I will eventually reveal some of the things I've gone through. But that being said, I'm going to have moments, and I want to be real. I want to be authentic, and I want to be, a see what you get kind of person, not see what you get. It sounds like I'm about to fight somebody. Oh yeah, you see what you get. No, that ain't. That's not what I meant. That's another thing you're going to learn about me as you watch me more, or as people watch. Hopefully they will. I mix my words up sometimes. My thoughts just kind of go so fast, faster than I could speak, so that it might come out, who knows what, and forgive me for that. But anyway, and I do kind of jump from topic to topic. So, but that's being authentic and who I really am. And that's one of the things, one of the processes I'm dealing with in my journey to joy, which part of that is my big, tiny dreams and starting over, and starting fresh and new. And the video I shared the other night, it might have been yesterday, I think, I had a sad moment. It just hit me. I sat down to do some things at my desk, put my iPod on. Yeah, it's a very old gadget now because who uses an iPod anymore? But I do. I put the iPod on and some playlists that I had, and I thought, well, I remember this music. I'll just put some on. Did not realize how it was going to affect me and the memories that were going to come flooding back, and all the sadness was going to hit me all over again. And, maybe people don't want to see that in me, but part of this, of me sharing, yes, it's for others to see and respond and maybe help, but it's also for me and being real with myself. And I thought, you know what? I just picked up my camera and I shared it. That's why it was a little shaky and it was a little dark, because it wasn't planned. But I thought, I'm just gonna share. So that being said, and being I had 2 videos just totally, not being useful, and I go back to work tomorrow, I'm like, what am I going to film to deal with next? Because I try to film things to where I could, at least as I'm getting ready for work or before I go to bed when I come home from work, to be able to work a little bit on the editing. And so I needed to come up with something that I wanted to do. And I still kind of wanted to share the process of going through those. And I'll probably film another one where I go through that. But something kind of came to mind that I thought I would share with you guys and my feelings on things. I've mentioned before that I work at Walmart. I'm a personal digital shopper, which I like my job a lot, and my bosses. I'm very blessed to have that. But before I moved to that department, I'd worked in apparel for 2 years, and I loved that at the time. And I loved helping customers. It really meant a lot to me to help customers. And one day, I had a lady come through. It was, I don't know, it was like the end of summer, beginning of fall last year. And she was trying to find a swimsuit, which I know could sound odd for beginning of fall, but this is Texas. And even today, for past the middle of February, it was 90 degrees. I had to go out and get something. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's like summer all over again. Just thought I'd throw that in there. But anyway, this lady asked for help to find a swimsuit. And I'm like, okay, we probably don't have many. I can see what I can help you find. And she starts to say how she, wants to look all nice and everything, and how she'd gone through a divorce. And I was like, oh, really? I said, I'm going through a divorce. And at the time last year, I wasn't divorced yet. So it might have been the year before, now that I think about it, because my divorce was final in May of last year. But anyway, I'm an open book. Oh, my watch keeps hitting the table. I'm an open book when I talk to people. And maybe that's my downfall. I probably share too much. I probably say too much. But when I first went back to work, people asked, I told everything. This is what I'm going through. This is what I'm dealing with. So I just told her I was going through a divorce. And I told her a little bit of what happened. And she's like, my husband left me for a younger, prettier woman. And, they had to get divorced. But now after all this, he's wanting to see her again. And she felt the need to try and fit a mold of what he had left her for, is what I was gathering from it. Now, I can't say that's exactly it, but from the way she was talking, that's how it sounded to me. And I know in a sense it's none of my business, but at the same time, being what I was going through, and what I'm learning, I want to help others. And I told her how basically that's similar to what I went through, except mine was more of my husband was thinking he was going to be meeting up with real women, but you know how you have all these scammers on the internet, all these, women with all these beautiful pictures. But to me and everybody else, we're like, these people aren't real. This is just, they're trying to get something from you. And so our family was destroyed over tons of fake, beautiful women with all their fancy pictures and stuff. And I know that kind of be maybe a bit much to be out there for everyone, but most of the family knows it now. And I'm not saying these things to, totally destroy the memory of my husband. It's the truth. It's what happened. And because of that, it crushed me and it crushed our kids. And I just wanted to let her know, look, love yourself. Just take time to love yourself first. I said, I know it's none of my business. You can do what you want. But she started crying. Next thing you know, we're both crying. As a matter of fact, I realized I had a lunch to take, I think, and I felt bad being where I'm supposed to be working. And next thing I know, this woman's opening up her heart to me, and she's crying, and I'm crying. So I clock out, because at Walmart you can clock out on your phone. I clocked out for my lunch and stood there and finished talking with her. I think she hugged me too. And I said, look, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but just from what I'm learning through the process of what I'm going through now, please just love yourself first. Trying to become something else, or what your husband was chasing after. To me, I just see all kinds of hurt and all that. And it may have been fine. She may have been happy. She may have been fine with that, but she appreciated what I shared with her. So one of the things that I'm turning this conversation to ultimately is I'm learning to love myself. I've grown up with self-esteem issues all my life. My parents were divorced when I was basically a baby. I was the youngest of 4 children, and I think I was a year old by the time the divorce was final. And it was so hard on my mom. And I may not have had the memories of my dad there, but he would come in occasionally into our lives. And there was just a lot of hurt, a lot of trauma. And wouldn't you know, me and my sister both fell for the same type of person. I don't know how that happens, but it does. And we didn't, of course, you don't go into that thinking that you're going to be dealing with that. And I'm having to reflect on myself. I know I have never claimed to be a perfect person, and I know I've had my failures. I'm an emotional person. I get my feelings hurt easily. I'm having to learn to deal with that and stop and evaluate things and realize maybe my perception is off on things. Maybe that person didn't mean it like this or that. And I realize, even going into my relationship with my husband, before we were married, I remember there being an incident that really upset me. In retrospect, I feel I can point it back to, well, because of the things I went through with my father. My father was one that he would say he was going to come get us, because we lived in Mississippi on the Gulf Coast. He lived like in California, had a really good job, making great money, but never wanted to send help to my mom, very rarely, if any. And we would go over a year never hearing a word from him. And then he all of a sudden had vacation. He had friends, party buddies and stuff down in Mobile, Alabama. And he called saying that he was going to be coming down and he was going to stop by and pick up me and my brother. And we were going to spend the week with him. Now, I wasn't real close with him, being I didn't get to see him a lot, but there were moments, of him in and out of my life. And that was my father. And I was excited of, him showing any kind of attention to us. So I remember me and my brother having our bags packed, and he never came till the end of the week when he had to go back. He was on his way back to California, and I remember him showing up and meeting us in the front yard. And this is what I call consolation prizes. Like, oh, I don't have time for you. I'm not going to be able to do anything with you. But, oh, here's this nice gift. I remember he gave, my father was into country western, wore the big cowboy hat. He loved to play guitar, was really good at it, loved to sing. I remember him and my brothers getting guitars out when we would have time together, and he'd call it picking and grinning. He kind of had that Johnny Cash sounding kind of voice to me, and with a similar look of Kenny Rogers. Maybe not with as much hair on top, but there was a similarity to me. And he wore glasses, but that's what I thought of as a young kid. But anyway, he gave me, I think it was one of these Casio calculators. I'll have to show it to you sometime. That was, I know this is weird saying it was this long, but it had like a little piano keyboard, and you could change the little thing to add, subtract, or play the little keyboard. And that was for me. Oops, my microphone, sorry. And then my brother got this big suede country western looking vest that looked like lamb's wool on the inside of it. If that's what you call it, lamb's wool, fur, whatever. And he gave us that, and I think gave us a hug or whatever. And then that was it. He was gone. So how that moves forward to when my husband and I were dating. My husband was from California. We grew up in the same church, but different states, because our church was a worldwide. It was a Worldwide Church of God. Y'all might have heard of this. That's what we grew up in, but in different parts of the country. And how we met was his dad was transferred to my local congregation as an associate pastor. And then when he came to see his parents, we met, and that was kind of how it all happened. But I remember we met up for about a week. Then he went back home, and he called me. I think this might have been after we got engaged, because he had sent me a plane ticket to come see him for the Christmas holidays, because I was a teacher assistant at the time and got the Christmas break off. And so he called and was like, this was after I came back home and we were engaged. And he's like, I'm going to be calling you on this date at this time. And I remember sitting by the phone, waiting, and he never called. And later on, when I finally did get up with him, I just lost it and fell apart crying and all that, because I was used to people telling me, I'm going to do this. And when I say people, mainly my dad, and never going through. And it was always, disappointment after disappointment. Of course, I ended up getting over that. But I know I had daddy issues I brought into the marriage. So I'm not going to say I was perfect by all means. But I remember counseling with my minister when I was, I think it was right before I met my future husband. And in the church that we went to, you didn't get baptized young. You had to counsel for it and read booklets and, all this kind of stuff. But of course, my pastor knew me, and he didn't make me read any booklets. But one of the things he asked me was about forgiveness. Could you forget, what if you get married one day and your husband cheats on you? And I said, oh no, that's the one thing I could never forgive. And when I met my husband to be, when we had met at a church thing, we had gone out, the church had chartered like a boat. I say a boat, it wasn't like a little boat. It almost looks like a miniature cruise ship. I don't know what you would call that. But it was like you go out into the Mississippi Gulf Sound and in the evening, and you have a dinner. It's like a dinner cruise thing. And we went up on the deck and talked. This is when we were getting to know each other and like each other. And I told him that was the one thing I could never forgive. And next thing you know, fast forward to the future, and we've gotten married. And after all these years, I deal with the infidelity, and to my surprise, I forgave. I forgave right away. And my theory on that is we had been married 20 something years by then. And it's interesting the things you think you will say and do as opposed to what you will actually do. To me, that was my family. We had been together so long. People are human. People do stupid things. People make mistakes. And yes, hurt people hurt people. And he had had some health issues. I just assumed it had to do with that. Now, did it hurt? Yeah. Was it crazy? Yeah. But then fast forward 4 years after that, I don't know what happened. I think I just kind of buried it all because of all the stuff we were going through. And I thought we'd gotten through it till it all happens again. And that's when I finally, as I told my therapist, I said, when I found out the second time, I automatically forgave because my husband was, groveling. He was sorry. He was going to get help and talk to a therapist. And the first thing that came to my mind is he sees he's got a problem. He's going to get help. And oddly enough, as I said, that is something I never in my life thought I'd ever forgive, let alone twice. But at the same time, I'm like, I know how people go through things and I don't know, do things that they maybe wouldn't normally do. And maybe people just need help. So I gave him, no, he gave me his phone and he's like, I don't need my phone, lock it. And I'll talk to my therapist tomorrow. So the next day he wanted me to unlock it for him to do that. And I did. Then he gave me the phone back. Then the later on that evening, he wanted to let his best friend know. And I was like, okay. I go to unlock the phone. Something in me told me to look. You need to look at go through his phone. You just need to check. And I just felt this really intense feeling. I need to look. And so I'm like, wait a minute. I scroll through and I see a message from him to someone saying, I've been found out. I need to lay low. And you can contact me at this email address. And the weird part is, and this is what I told my therapist, I don't even remember thinking about what I was going to say. It just came out of my mouth. I want a divorce, and I think I should keep the house and the car because it was just me and going to be me and our 2 young adult children here. And he was on disability. He got benefits. He could get a place and all that. And not only that, his best friend was going to take him in, is what we found out. But I couldn't believe I said it. I just did. And my whole point of this isn't to air dirty laundry, but as I said, to be authentic in how I dealt with this. And as we fast forward from that, it's hard to learn to love yourself when you've had a life of feeling betrayed by those that are supposed to love you and care for you, and then to go through that again. But it is something that I want to learn to do and something I'm gradually learning to do. I used to be told when I was younger and working different jobs, Joni, you need to stand up for yourself. Now, not that I can't, amongst people I'm really close to, get in an argument and speak for myself or whatever, but I don't like to cause too many waves or rock the boat, as they say. And just afraid of people getting mad and angry and all that, since I've dealt with that different times in my life. And I would let people take advantage of me, walk all over me. And I'm finally, not that I'm being mean, but I'm finally learning, maybe it's like set your boundaries type of thing. I'm finally learning, okay, you've got to love yourself. I've got to find out who Joni is on her own, without a husband, with just me. And well, of course I have my young adult children here, but it's basically just me. They do their own thing. We do some things together, but it's me. And I have time to think on who I am and what I want to do. And part of this, doing the YouTube thing, I'd had a couple of people tell me before, you need to do this. You're good at talking with people. And I never would do it. So here I am. And I just want to share the message of, I know there are people out there who have gone through things, who feel like their spirit has been crushed, who feel hurt, betrayed. And it's a hard thing to get through. It's a hard thing to feel good enough, worthy enough when you feel like you didn't matter, But let me tell you, there is hope and it can be done. It just might take time for healing. And I would advise anybody that could get therapy to do therapy. The only reason I'm able to is because, oddly enough, where we live, there's a hospital and clinics that actually will see you according to your income. And so that's the only reason I'm able to get help. And I realize it's hard for everybody too. And I haven't fully jumped in the process yet. I was laughing with my sister last night saying, yeah, I've had like 4 appointments already with different doctors. And every time I think I'm getting therapy, it's another screening session. So I'm like, okay, but this next one is supposed to be that. But anyway, I have this book that I got years ago. We have a store called Half Price Books that I love. And it's called The Book of Positive Quotations. And it's compiled and arranged by John Cook. I hadn't even gone through all of it, but I looked in it real quick because there's a chapter on self-acceptance. And see, this is how frugal and, practical I am. I'm sure I have bookmarks around, but I'm using a Band-Aid to bookmark one page and an alcohol prep pad from my first aid kit to bookmark the other. But I wanted to share a couple of positive quotes that I hope can be helpful to anyone out there that has been helpful to me as well. Let me see if I could find it. Okay, yeah, there was this one that I read. To accept ourselves as we are means to value our imperfections as much as our perfections. And the quote is by Sandra Bierig. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. But that really stood out to me because, yeah, we're all imperfect. We all have our faults. And to accept ourselves and value ourselves with our imperfections. I know in a lot of situations, social media and all that, people feel more empowered to say hurtful, ugly things to people because they don't have to face the consequence of being face to face and have any type of, I don't think retribution is the word for it, but any type of consequence, for hurting someone, to see the look in their eyes, to see what you've done to that person when you say something can be really hard. So people will, easily cut people down. And sometimes people believe these things when people say these hurtful things. And I've actually had my oldest daughter tell me, Mom, I just want you to be careful starting YouTube because people are going to say things and they're going to say hurtful things. And she knows I'm a very sensitive person. And I said, yeah, I realize that. And I'm hoping I can handle it well. I'm hoping that I can be strong and not let those things get me down because, people are that way. Sometimes I've dealt with customers that can be that way. And I try to be nice anyway. I mean, what can you do? Yeah, in your mind, you might think something ugly back or whatever, but kind of like the thing, I've told people I want to be a nice person, a good person, but when I'm driving and someone does something that, is so rude, like causes me to almost, have a wreck or slam on the brakes, I don't have windows down where they can hear me and I'm saying something awful to them, but I'll say something bad. And I'm like, wow, here you think you're a good person and you're reacting like that because I wouldn't want to hurt anybody. So I just want to, hopefully this can be helpful to someone. I just want to encourage others that might be going through similar circumstances or situations to, I know you may want someone in your life, but as I've said to other people, I would rather be alone and lonely than to be with someone and be lonely, because I've done that. I'd come out of that. And that's, believe me, many times worse. Yeah, you want to have that special someone to go through life with, to do things with, to share your experiences with. Yeah, those things are wonderful. And maybe I'll have that again one day. I don't know, but I'm not going to go chase it down. I want to learn to be happy with just me first, because I'm like, if you can't love yourself, how do you love other people? And I'm still, trying to learn to do that. Anyway, I hope this didn't sound too dark. I hope it was inspiring somewhat. There was another quote in here that I wanted to share. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, I thought this was interesting. Theodore Roosevelt said this: "I care not what others think of what I do, but I care very much about what I think of what I do. That is character." And that kind of hits home to me, because I realize I may not do things the typical way in doing YouTube. Uh, my daughter pointed out, my hashtags aren't right on my shorts. I get that. I was like, I know, I understand hashtags, but you know what? I like using this word. I like saying this. And it may be all wrong. It may be going against the algorithm or whatever is going to help me. But just like I want to be authentic, I want to be my weird self, and love that of who I am. And maybe other people, or, someone watching might be able to relate. And one thing I always, would try and teach my children is to be sure and be true to who you are. This may sound silly, but back in the early days of American Idol, we would watch American Idol together. And then for my oldest daughter, that she ended up going to beauty school eventually, but she loved watching America's Next Top Model, and I would watch that with her. And one thing I noticed that I would tell, it may not have been this with like every situation, but there were a few people that would get ridiculed on the show. Oh, you need to be more like this. This is not going to be popular. This is not going to be great. And one person I can think of is a particular person on American Idol that I loved his music and his style. And maybe it's because I was a teenager in the 80s and I understand beatbox music and all that. And y'all might know who I'm talking about. His name was Blake Lewis. We voted for him like crazy, especially me. Oops, my microphone. Voted for him like crazy on the show. I was always one to call in, and I just loved him. But I remember some of the episodes early on where Simon Cowell, of course, he was one for ridiculing and putting down lots of people, but, would make comments like, oh, you can't do that, or that's not going to be popular. I don't even think he was, I'll have to go back and watch. It's been years, but if I remember correctly, he didn't get a lot of positive comments from him, but they ended up getting him in somehow. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he was like a runner-up. I don't think he actually won. But when he came out with his first couple of albums, I bought them for my daughter, and I ended up putting them on my iPod, and I still listen to them to this day. And then I think he came out with another one. I don't know if I followed him on social media or something somehow, where he sent emails out to everyone that he was going to self-produce or something, another album, and you could buy ahead of time, and it would be released, I think digitally to your email address. And I bought in, because I'm like, I wanted to support someone with this kind of talent. He still did well. He may not be like, big and famous like some of the others, but there were a lot of people, my point being, a lot of people that stay true. See what I mean? Stay stayed true to who they were and continue to be that, even though other people even though other people are telling them, no, you have to be like this. If you want to win, you got to be like this. You got to do like that. And I get there's some of that, but I'm like, I would rather see someone be who they really are, be authentic, and go with that. It's kind of like nowadays, okay, for instance, in the 80s, and you 80s people that grew up in the 80s, you will probably get this and understand this. And anybody that's younger may not even know that this was a thing, but in the 80s, we were considered Generation X. And I think Pepsi came out with Generation Next campaign along those lines with their Pepsi and all that, which was good. But I was a Coke drinker at the time. I don't drink sodas like that anymore because of all the sugar. But I would occasionally have a Coca-Cola or a Coke. And they wanted to compete more with Pepsi because I guess Pepsi was doing a little better at times. And so what did they do? They changed the formula of Coke and come out with new Coke. And I tried it. Yeah, it was all right, but it was not the good old Coca-Cola that I grew up knowing. And it did not, I think it was a flop. It did not do well at all. And then they had to come back out. That's when they called it Classic Coke, because they realized it was a failure and they had to go back to their old recipe. And I noticed that with a lot of businesses nowadays, whether it be, I don't know, Pizza Hut or Burger King or, whatever it is, there's some, oh, well, because this business is doing something that's really popular, we need to do that. We need to get a piece of that pie. And as much as, I don't know if this gets me in trouble saying this on YouTube because I don't know how that works, but and I realize shorts are great and a lot of people love it. I know my oldest daughter for someone that was supposed to be good at English in junior high and high school, I'm flubbing it all over. My oldest daughter was great at TikTok, loved TikTok. And so shorts are she's great at. Her channel is doing great because she does all these great shorts. I'm not really into shorts. I take what I do and I make them into shorts because that's kind of what you have to do with YouTube. And there's some people that I've watched on YouTube that had to actually come out and say on their channel, everybody's asking, why are we doing these little videos? We don't like those. And they say, well, because YouTube's making us do that. And I'm like, I get that, oh, let's do that too. But I'm like, why can't TikTok be TikTok, YouTube be YouTube? Now, maybe I'm being old-fashioned, which is weird hearing me say that because in my head, I'm still like the young person I thought I was. But I'm sure it sounds old-fashioned. I'm like, why can't we, just go with what you're good at and be that? We don't have to be all things to all people. If you're good at beatboxing like Blake Lewis, that's your thing. Do it. Don't let anybody tell you differently. If you are good at sewing, singing, whatever your thing is, you do that. Don't let people tell you, oh, well, you need to sing more like Mariah Carey. Or you know what? You need to do what Britney Spears does. She dances with the snake on her shoulders, or whatever. And I do love all those singers, just so y'all know. But yeah, why can't we be happy with what we are, who we are, and do that, And to me, that's part of learning to love yourself. And I kind of wish businesses could do that too. But I realize a lot of business is all about just making the money. What can we do to make the next buck? And I get that. But I'm like, I would love to see where, not that things can't ever change and be better, but, if you do this really well, just do it. Like the classic Coke, stay with the Coke. You're not going to be Pepsi. New Coke is not going to be Pepsi. Stay with what you're good at. There are enough people that like you. You'll still make your money, So I know that may sound kind of crazy, but that's how I view it. But anyway, hopefully this didn't drag on too long, and hopefully this was helpful to some people. And as I said, I didn't mean this to be a video of just, telling all my husband's sins or whatever, but it is a bit, this journey I'm on is about trying to come out of the darkness and into the light of the things that I've been through. And that's just like a smidgen of the things, you know, me and my family have been through. But I'm learning to try and be grateful for what I have and what I can do. And I'm just going to do the best I can. And I'm going to try and be happy with me. It's kind of like I've had people say, oh, why don't you color your hair? I have a, I don't know how you'd put it, a stepmother, ex-stepmother-in-law. I don't know, not my mother-in-law anymore, and it was a stepmother-in-law. But anyway, I have been losing weight. You know, I had gained a lot of weight through what I went through with my husband, and now it's all, hopefully, all starting to come off. And one day they pulled up for something, and oh, look at you, you've lost weight, you're looking good. No, all you need to do is color your hair. And I was like, I like my hair the way it is. Oh, you know, she doesn't like white hair. Well, you know what? I don't have to please everybody, you know? Now, I didn't say that. I didn't want to be rude, but I do want to stand up for me at the same time. And I realized, yeah, look, I'm getting gray hair. And I might color it one day. And there's nothing wrong with people that do want to color their hair. My daughter, when she was in, my oldest daughter, when she did beauty school, coloring was her thing. She had rainbow hair at one time. She called it mermaid hair or whatever. Had like this beautiful dark turquoise and then this purple and then this bright pink. And, you know, that wasn't my thing, but it looked good on her, you know. And I was actually her model for when she was learning to do different things. I'd come in there for her to practice coloring hair, and she's colored my hair a few times. And I've liked that. But I hate the chemicals. I hate the smell. She would always fuss at me because I'd hold a towel over my face as she's doing it. And I have anxiety, like, oh, it's going to get my eye and I'm going to go blind. I didn't say that, but in my head, that's going on. I know that sounds crazy to some people, but, you know, it's a very hard process for me. But I do like, you know, doing my hair, you know, blonde or whatever. But for the time being, oh, my daughter's calling. Hold on a second. Let me stop and start over. Okay, I'm back on recording again. You know, they say, speak of the devil and he shall come. Now, of course, my daughter's not my daughter's not the devil, of course, but here I am talking about her, and she just called me. She goes, I'm not interrupting anything, Emma. I said, well, actually, I was just talking about you and, you know, how you did hair color and stuff. Real quick, I just want to throw out something that was funny that happened. One day we were talking about, you know, this is before my divorce and all. We were over here at the house, and this used to be my father-in-law's home, and I'm very grateful that he sold this to me for a really cheap price. It has a lot of work to be done, but I'm grateful to have a roof over my head. But anyway, that being said, one day we were talking about his other son, because both his sons passed away, and his first son to pass away was actually younger than my husband. My husband he would have turned 55 in September, but he died in March. I say my husband, he was my ex-husband by then, but you know, you'll know when I say my husband, I'm talking about my ex-husband. I don't have a husband right now. But anyway, his other son, but this was before any of them had passed away. We were talking about him, or he was talking about him. And next thing you know, he's knocking at the door. And one of my kids said, well, speak of the devil. And my father-in-law didn't understand the joke of that. And he's like, that's not the devil. That's my son. So me and the kids laugh about it to this day. So Papa, that's what we called him. If you're watching this, just realize we love you. We think it was funny though. But anyway, back to the hair color thing. For now, I've decided to let my hair go gray, and it might be white actually. I don't know. See, I have, you know, it's kind of crazy, and I haven't been wearing makeup. Not that I used to love wearing makeup, but now that I have glasses, which I didn't wear glasses nearly all my life till I got in my late 30s. Next thing you know, the prescription's getting, you know, bigger and bigger and bigger to where my eyeballs look this big sometimes with my glasses. And, you know, when you don't wear glasses, you think it'd be cool to wear glasses. And then when you wear glasses, it's a pain in the butt because it's like they're always sliding down. You'll see my videos. I'm always pushing them up. And I just got them readjusted. I think I'm due for another exam and prescription, and I'm sure my eyes will look even bigger next time. But maybe I'll get some glasses that don't keep sliding down my nose. But anyway, with wearing glasses, and then the pandemic, you know, we were wearing masks at work all the time. I'm like, why am I going to put makeup on and have a mask on and get makeup all over it? Nobody, it's like, you know, and to be honest, I wore makeup for me. I didn't wear, and I'm sure that's how most women are. I know when I first met my husband, he was like, I don't like makeup. It's like eating lipstick or whatever. And I remember when we were dating, he had flown me out to, we were staying at his aunt's house, and he had to go. It was during the Christmas holidays. It was right around the time we got engaged. And he brought me some flowers home. Had gone to work, and he handed me the flowers and reached in to give me a kiss, and he saw I had lipstick on, and he's like, refused to kiss me. And I don't know, maybe that was a sign back then, but I didn't let it bother me because, you know what? I wear makeup. This is who I am. And he didn't want me to wear makeup, and he wanted me to let my hair go gray and whatnot, which is odd because when I saw the women he was going after, that actually didn't turn out to be real women. And he found out in the end, bless his heart, as the Southerners say. But they all had so much makeup and everything was fake. And I know these were probably fake pictures on the internet, you know, because I know he was being scammed the whole time. But he thought he had all these gorgeous women after him. And I'm thinking, wow, you know, really? You didn't like makeup, and you didn't like, you know, you wanted me to have gray hair and all that. So those weren't the reasons I did that. But I just, with all that I was going through with him and then the pandemic, you know, I just didn't care. I didn't care anymore. And my best friend, sister friend, Yvette, who, bless her heart, she just had her surgery for her breast cancer. And she told me because, you know, we grew up together, and she's like, oh, you were always the pretty one and all that. I said, yeah, well, you know, I never thought that of myself, for one. I keep hitting my microphone, sorry. But I never thought that of myself. I never thought I was anything. But I did say, well, yeah, now I'm fat and ugly. I said, but you know what? At least if I ever do meet anybody, and I'll know that they really love me for me, because I don't look like anything. But of course, you know, I'm trying to lose weight, but for health. Yeah, do I want to look cute sometimes and put some makeup on me? But you know what? All my makeup's 10 years old now. I'm not going to put that on because, you know, my face would probably fall off, or I'd get some kind of massive infection. And I'm not wanting to spend money on makeup right now. And even like hair color, if I started doing that, now I know you could get the box stuff, but having a daughter that's graduated beauty school, that is like a no-no. That will kill your hair, Mom. Which I barely like the process of letting someone do my hair, let alone trying to do it myself. That just ain't gonna happen. So I'm like, you know what? My hair's kind of cool. Like when I do this, there's like this white streak, and I'm like, you know, maybe I'll look like the bride of Frankenstein. Well, especially when I let my hair dry naturally. That's another thing. Just like I never wore glasses, I never had curly hair. And it's weird because you want curly hair when you have straight hair, and you want straight hair when you have curly hair. And my best friend that's been getting over the cancer, dealing with that, she had the naturally curly hair, and she hated it. And I had the straight hair, and I'd get the perms and all. And now her hair she had told me, has straightened more. And mine's going curly, and it's getting curlier and curlier. You can't tell now because I use this hot brush to, you know, straighten it some, because it's so hard to control, you know, the least little bit of moisture, and I'm looking like a poodle or whatever. But, you know, it is what it is. I'm learning to love myself. I know I'm looking old. I've got the double chin, and everything's sagging and hanging, and I'm getting gray hair. And you know what? I'm going to try and enjoy life, and as best as I can get through what I can. And it is what it is. And I might be wearing makeup again one day just because I want to try this again. Or I might color my hair one day. But right now, hair coloring is it would be really expensive to keep it up. And I'm like, I'm trying to be frugal, get my house in order, which I'm not even sure if I will be able to afford to fix everything to sell it. I might have to sell it to one of those investors that buys it really cheap and just get a really teeny tiny house. But I'm going to learn to be happy wherever I am, and I just don't want to be in debt. I don't want a lot of big bills, and I want to keep learning to love myself. And I'm sorry if that was just like a rant and a rave and on and on and on, but you're gradually learning more about me, and this is who I am. And hopefully, maybe this will help somebody. And if it's you, that's great. To my hopefully future subscribers, and the family and friends that are all the subscribers now, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching. That, if anything, that's supporting me. Just, hearing what I have to say and, my ramble on and on and on. But I am talkative, which is odd because I used to be extremely shy. But hopefully this helps somebody. And yeah, I'll try and make something again. And be blessed, everyone. And come back again soon. And who knows what we'll do next time. I might go through some more containers and y'all can see all the stuff. And I promise I'm really not a hoarder. I just, there's been a lot of things over the years that have just piled up, and I'm learning to, okay, I don't need all this. Anyway, thank you guys again. Love you all, and God bless and goodbye. Oh, look, see, I've already messed up my hair.